Lesson 134. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Welcome to the Qigong support for A Course in Miracles students. I am Judith and you're at the Lucid Mind Center. How it works is this. First, we're going to read the lesson together and we're going to contemplate it together. And at the end, I will guide you to a Qigong class, which is specifically suited to apply this lesson in. You can do shorter classes, longer classes, whichever is suitable to you. In the beginning, when I started recording these lessons, I used to heavily edit it, but life circumstances don't permit me doing that anymore. So I will not be editing out things. I'm not going to censor things. So whatever is coming to me, whatever is coming to us while we are having this little chat together, this is what needs to be said. And just before we start, I would like to just connect. You can do that with me. Just let's connect. Just imagine that you've got a central channel coming into the crown of your head, coming all the way through the body, out into the perineum. Just imagine that it's anchoring itself into the perineum. And just remember that you are the light of the world, that we are here. And we all come here because we trying to light up the world and remembering that we are an extension of this creation, extension of this universe, the Holy Son of God, as we say in Course in Miracles. Very good. And I like to help out myself with the hands, so I'm just going to collect this energy which is all around me. I'm going to collect it and I'm going to bring it through the crown of my head all the way down, exhaling. Very good. Now we're going to do one into the nose, in, exhale, very good. Now bring one to the heart, in, exhale, and now bring one to the lower dantian, inhale, exhale, very good. Now we are more connected. Let's begin. Let's see what the course is going to tell us. I also got my cup of tea. So if you would like to get yours, put this on stop, get yourself a tea or a coffee, and let's begin our reading together. Very good. Still hot, mine. Okay. Lesson 134. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. It's a tough one. I started the whole Course in Miracles because I was unable to forgive. There were certain people in my life I just could not forgive. As I was a teenager, I came out of teenage years, I thought that I had a terrible upbringing. I felt myself to be kind of a aggressive victim. And it took me several years before I even could talk about it. I felt that I had an abuse. And then now later on, now when I look back at it, I don't think it was that bad. But it felt bad at the time and I couldn't forgive it. It was a long time, I just simply could not forgive. There was a lot of anger, a lot of aggression. And that's why I even started this Course in Miracles, because I needed to learn forgiveness. I understood that this whole thing was about. So let's see if I have gone any further since I first read this in 2009. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Let us review the meaning of forgive, for it is apt to be distorted and to be perceived as something which entails an unfair sacrifice of righteous wrath, a gift unjustified and undeserved, and a complete denial of truth. In such a view, forgiveness must be seen as mere eccentric folly, and this course appeared to wrest salvation on a whim. I told you that before, but if you have never been, if it is the first time that you're doing A Course in Miracles, in my family we did not forgive. And we did not ask for forgiveness either. It was expected that you learn to do things without making mistakes. And if you made a mistake, then you were in trouble. And then wrath would come. And then God would also punish you. And if it wasn't enough that somebody would punish you in this world, then God will punish you in the end. This twisted view of what forgiveness means is easily corrected when you can accept the fact that pardon is not asked for what is true. You see, this is what the key is here. You're not asking for pardon for something which is true. It must be limited to what is false. It is irrelevant to everything except illusions. Truth is God's creation, and to pardon this is meaningless. All truth belongs to Him, reflects His laws, and radiates His love. Does this need pardon? How can you forgive the sinless and eternally benign? The major difficulty that you find in genuine forgiveness on your part is that you still believe you must forgive the truth and not illusions. You conceive of pardon as a vain attempt to look past what is there, to overlook the truth in an unfounded effort to deceive yourself by making an illusion true. This twisted viewpoint but reflects the hold that the idea of sin retains as yet upon your mind as you regard yourself. Because you think your sins are real, you look on pardon as deception. For it is impossible to think of sin as true and not believe forgiveness is a lie. Thus is forgiveness really but a sin like all the rest? It says that truth is false and smiles on the corrupt as if they were as blameless as the grass, as white as snow. It is delusional in what it thinks it can accomplish. It would see as right the plainly wrong, the loathsome as the good. This is what we are thinking. This is not what it is. This is what we think it is. Pardon is no escape in such a view. This is what we're thinking. It merely is a further sign that sin is unforgivable, at best to be concealed, denied, or called another name, for pardon is a treachery to truth. Guilt cannot be forgiven. If you sin, your guilt is everlasting. Those who are forgiven from the view their sins are real are pitifully mocked and twice condemned. First by themselves for what they think they did, and once again by those who pardon them. You get it? If you forgive somebody in this way, if you say, well, I know that you have sinned, but I'm forgiving you, then you are actually mocking them twice. First for saying, you have sinned, you have done this, there is a sin, and then by putting themselves above them and say, but I forgive you. I'll give you mercy. It is sin's unreality that makes forgiveness natural and wholly sane, a deep relief to those who offer it, a quiet blessing where it is received. It does not countenance illusion, but collects them lightly with a little laugh and gently lays them at the feet of truth, and there they disappear entirely. Forgiveness is the only thing that stands for truth in the illusions of the world. It sees their nothingness and looks right through the 1,000 forms in which they may appear. The illusions, they show up in 1,000 forms. It looks on lies, but it is not deceived. It does not heed the self-accusing shrieks of sinners mad with guilt. It looks on them with quiet eyes and merrily says to them, my brother, what you think is not the truth. The strength of pardon is its honesty, which is so uncorrupted that it sees illusions as illusions, not as truth. It is because of this that it becomes the undeceiver in the face of lies, the great restorer of the simple truth. By its ability to overlook what is not there, it opens up the way to truth, which had been blocked by dreams of guilt. Now are you free to follow in the way your true forgiveness opens up to you. So for if one brother has received his gift of you, the door is open to yourself. This is like a two-way street. Once you're actually able to forgive somebody fully, you kind of open up the door. You kind of open up the heart. And you open up also the wisdom. I always compare forgiveness to when you're watching your children. You know, when your children do something, especially if you've got several children, so then you become better at it as you get more experienced, or the older the children get. I was a much better mother with my later two children than with my first two children. You kind of look at them and you realize that they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. So you don't punish them for what they have been doing, you know, what they did. You just kind of lift them up and say, come on, knock off their dust and say, come, let's walk. Let's keep on walking. You don't punish them for it. Maybe when you have your first child, maybe you still punish certain things because you're still carrying the crazy upbringing from your own parents. So then maybe you are too hard on your first child. But later on, as you grow older and you understand your children, maybe you kind of see, well, they don't really know what they're doing and they are too young to understand. So you kind of overlook it. And for me, forgiveness is this kind of overlooking, where you kind of just say, no, this person doesn't understand it. They are just fooled by their illusions. They're just fooled by their anger, by their sorrow, by those things which they're feeling. But this is not reality. So for me, forgiveness is like an overlooking. I'm not giving them mercy. I'm kind of overlooking. I'm kind of enveloping them in my understanding. That is how I feel forgiveness is. And also when somebody else forgives me, the warmth I feel, the gratitude I feel to somebody else because they envelop me within their love and understanding. The strength of pardon is its honesty, which is so uncorrupted that it sees illusions as illusions, not as truth. It is because of this that it becomes the undeceiver in the face of lies, the great restorer of the simple truth. By its ability to overlook what is not there, it opens up the way to truth, which had been blocked by dreams of guilt. Now are you free to follow in the way your true forgiveness opens up to you. For if one brother has received this gift of you, the door is open to yourself. There is a very simple way to find the door to true forgiveness and perceive it open wide in welcome. When you feel that you are tempted to accuse someone of sin in any form, do not allow your mind to dwell on what you think he did, for this is self-deception. Ask instead, should I accuse myself of doing this? And this is, of course, an enigma. Should I accuse myself of doing this? So here this sentence means two things. Should I accuse myself in condemning him? And should I accuse myself, that self which is in the other person? Should I really do this? Because if it was my child that was 2 years old, would I do this? Probably not. I also found that I was much more hard on myself than I was on others. Thus, will you see alternatives for choice in terms which render choosing meaningful? So ask instead, should I accuse myself of doing this? Let me just read this from there. There is a very simple way to find the door to true forgiveness. It's so important, that's why I have to repeat this. There is a very simple way to find the door to true forgiveness and perceive it open wide in welcome. When you feel that you are tempted to accuse someone of sin in any form, do not allow your mind to dwell on what you think he did, for this is self-deception. Ask instead, should I accuse myself of doing that, of self-deception? Thus, will you see alternatives for choice in terms which render choosing meaningful and keep your mind as free of guilt and pain as God Himself intended your mind to be, and as it is in truth? It is but lies which would condemn. In truth is innocence, the only thing there is. And you have to forgive yourself as well. Forgiveness stands between illusions and the truth, between the world you see and that which lies beyond, between the hell of guilt and heaven's gate. I just have to point this out again. Forgiveness stands between illusions and the truth, between the world you see, between the world we see, and that which lies beyond. So what does that actually mean? That means I am seeing a world, and then there is something beyond it. I mean, just figure it. I'm taking this apart mathematically, surgically. The world I see, and then there's something beyond it. So then it calls to me again, or what arises in my mind again, is that energetic field which I have around me, my field of perception. And onto this field of perception, on the inner wall of that field, of that ball of perception, I am projecting my world. And it says here that there is another world behind this perception which you are projecting. And forgiveness is the gate, it says here, no? What did it say? Forgiveness stands between illusion and the truth, between the world you see and that which lies beyond, between the hell of guilt and heaven's gate. That means we've got to learn forgiveness. We have to learn forgiveness to get behind this wall of perception, behind this world of madness that we are seeing. And you even hear me saying this quite often. I say the world is mad. This is because I am focusing on the mad world. That means I haven't forgiven the world, and I haven't forgiven myself yet, because I'm still focusing on the crazy stuff. Forgiveness stands between illusions and the truth, between the world you see and that which lies beyond, between the hell of guilt and heaven's gate. And this morning I woke up again in the hell of guilt with anxiety. Across this bridge, as powerful as love, which laid its blessing on it, are all dreams of evil and of hatred and attack brought silently to truth. So let me just point out here, across this bridge, as powerful as love, which laid its blessing on it, both love and which laid its blessing, it's in capital letters. So this is referring to the light, to God. Across this bridge, as powerful as love, which laid its blessing on it, are all dreams of evil and of hatred and attack brought silently to truth. And what is the bridge? The bridge is forgiveness. That is the bridge. That is which is going to bring us beyond this perception of the world we see, the world of suffering we see. It's forgiveness which is going to bring us beyond it. Across this bridge, as powerful as love, which laid its blessing on it, are all dreams of evil and of hatred and attack brought silently to truth. They are not kept to swell and bluster and to terrify the foolish dreamer who believes in them. He has been gently wakened from his dream by understanding what he thought he saw was never there. And now he cannot feel that all escape has been denied to him. And now he cannot feel that all escape has been denied to him. So he feels that escape is granted to him. He does not have to fight to save himself. He does not have to kill the dragons which he thought pursued him. Nor need he erect the heavy walls of stone and iron doors he thought would make him safe. He can remove the ponderous and useless armor, useless armor made to chain his mind to fear and misery. His step is light as he lifts his foot to stride ahead. A star is left behind to point the way to those who follow him. So when we actually are able to overlook this mistake, when we kind of rise above it and just say, well, they didn't know what they were doing. And you envelop them in this light of forgiveness or understanding or whatever you want to call it, which is actually a real expression of love, then life becomes so much lighter. You don't have to carry that grudge. And maybe a lot of us who are doing the Course in Miracle, we probably have come to that point where we can actually forgive others. But then comes the next point where we have to learn to forgive ourselves. And that we don't find so easy. But we also have to understand that we just made mistakes. We just didn't know what we were doing. So you can also, the way you envelop others in this forgiveness, you can envelop yourself in forgiveness. Forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning, nor provide a guide to teach you its beneficence. Let me repeat this. Forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning, nor provide a guide to teach you its beneficence. There is no thought in all the world which leads to any understanding. Pardon me. There is no thought in all the world which leads to any understanding of the laws it follows, nor the thought which it reflects. It is as alien to the world as is your own reality, and yet it joins your mind with the reality in you. Forgiveness must be practiced. Today we practice true forgiveness, that the time of joining be no more delayed. For we would meet with our reality, and this reality is with a capital R. For we would meet with our reality in freedom and in peace. Our practicing becomes the footsteps lightening up the way for all our brothers who will follow us to reality, again with a capital R, we share with them. That this may be accomplished, let us give a quarter of an hour twice today and spend it with the guide who understands the meaning of forgiveness and was sent to us to teach it. Let us ask of him. The guide who understands the meaning of forgiveness, this is the Christ in us or the Holy Spirit. That first one who understood forgiveness, that one who was on the cross and said, let me forgive them because I don't know what they're doing. Let me perceive as forgiveness as it is. Let us ask that one. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Then choose one brother as he will direct. He says here, choose one brother as he will direct. So you probably have a person already in your mind. And catalog his sins as one by one they cross your mind. Be certain not to dwell on any one of them, but realize that you are using his offenses, but to save the world from all ideas of sin. Briefly consider all evil things you thought of him, and each time ask yourself, would I condemn myself for doing this? And I remember when I read this first time, would I condemn myself for doing this? I probably would. And I would probably condemn myself harder than I would somebody else. So that was a trick that was a trick for me, a trick, very tricky, because I just couldn't get past this particular statement. So I had to first to learn to forgive myself before I could actually really understand this particular sentence. Would I condemn myself for doing this? Let him be freed from all the thoughts you had of sin in him, and now you are prepared for freedom. If you have been practicing thus far in willingness and honesty, you will begin to sense a lifting up, a lightening of weight across your chest, a deep and certain feeling of relief. The time remaining should be given to experiencing the escape from all the heavy chains you sought to lay upon your brother, which were laid upon yourself. This is exactly what we're doing. When we are condemning somebody, when we are punishing somebody in our mind and saying, I'm not going to forgive you because you've done this, this, and this, we're basically chaining ourselves to the person. So we want to release those chains. We want to forgive. We just want to overlook this and then forgive ourselves with it. Forgiveness should be practiced through the day, for there will be so many times when you forget its meaning and attack yourself. And this is important. Let me repeat this. Forgiveness should be practiced through the day, for there will be so many times when you forget its meaning and attack yourself. When this occurs, allow your mind to see through this illusion as you tell yourself, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Should I accuse myself of doing this? No, I will not lay this chain upon myself. In everything you do, remember this. No one is crucified alone, and yet no one can enter heaven by himself. So when you're crucifying somebody for their sins, when you do this in your mind, when you punish them and you're like thinking, I'm going to do this and they deserve that, then you're basically punishing yourself, because you can't, this act of expressing the punishment, you are basically chaining yourself to that same act. So again, we want to undo those chains. We want to lift it off. We want to envelop that other person with understanding. We want to envelop them with love and kindness. And we have got already one class where we are enveloping that person. It's a very beautiful class. It's a standing class where we are enveloping the other in this light of forgiveness. Today I'm going to add a second class of forgiveness where we're going to do this seated, and it's going to take 15 minutes. So you can do it twice today with me. And here is a seated Qigong class for forgiveness. Here is a standing class for forgiveness. And here you have got a list where there is other forgiveness classes you can find to apply to this lesson. At the end, let me know how it went for you. Enjoy.